God bless that woman. She did everything. We did not have potato chips unless she was standing there frying them. She just made everything.
Hey, everybody. I am so excited to talk to our guest today on Street You Grew Up On because I actually don't know anybody else who's grown up in this state in the United States. So I'm thrilled to welcome the kind, the beautiful, the generous, the brilliant, the talented, the amazing actor, producer, activist, and farmer, Jennifer Garner. Hi, Jen.
Hi, Kerry.
Thank you so much for having this conversation. I'm so excited to talk to you because I don't even know anybody who grew up in the state that you grew up in, really. So I'm thrilled. I'm just so excited to hear more about the street that you grew up on. So will you tell us the name of the street and the city and the state where you grew up?
I grew up on Greystone Place in Charleston, West Virginia.
Amazing. And what was that street like? Like, what did it look like? What did your house look like? Was it a crowded street? Were you the house on the street?
I was on a cul-de-sac. I was in a neighborhood called, I guess, a subdivision called Rolling Hills. And now looking back, we didn't treat it this way, but really the streets are pretty narrow. But in my little circle, and everything's on a hill in West Virginia. You're never somewhere flat. You're always on a hill. So my little circle was, there was a little hill. We had a little yellow house that my parents did a lot of work on themselves. My dad built the fence around the house, and they planted a little Japanese maple. I remember the day they put it in the ground, and my dad put out a little bench where we could sit with our bows. I remember them telling us when we were being courted, and they're pretty old fashioned. But at the base of the cul-de-sac, the way the pavement had cracks, it lined up so that it made a kickball field. So we played kickball in the cul-de-sac on a hill.
Wow. Wow. With other kids who lived in the cul-de-sac?
The other kids just from the neighborhood, but yeah, all the kids from around, we would play kick the can and there were also crazy woods behind some of the houses. So we'd go down and build forts and collect things and hide them in the like rubber bands. One year, I found a bunch of rubber bands and they were just a treasure to me. It was like a bag of rubber bands and I created a whole fort in the woods to give them a place to live.
The woods were kind of behind the houses in the cul-de-sac, yeah?
Mm-hmm.
And how many houses were there? Do you remember?
Let's see. Yes, there was our house at the top corner, and then the Hollerins, and she had 14 cats. And her license plate said Meow 1 and Meow 2. And then next to the Hollerins were Marge and Ed. And Marge and Ed were like the people who were always home that had the key, the spare key if my mom wasn't home for some reason.
And so what were some of the sounds on that street that you grew up on? Like I imagine
Birds.
Some cats. Oh, birds.
Birds.
Yes. Did you have do you have a window in your bedroom?
I did have a window in my bedroom. I shared a room with my little sister. Then I shared one with my big sister. And for some of my childhood, I had my own room. And yes, I had a window and there were a lot of birds.
Did you have your own room because one of your sisters went away to school, or how did that shift happen?
We had a nice, it was a very nice house. It was small compared to houses that I think are built now, even in my hometown. But my parents had a room, and then there were 3 little bedrooms, and the room that became mine was the guest room. So whenever we had a foreign exchange student or anyone or any guests, I had to be evacuated. But sometimes that was my room.
What's your order in your sisters?
I'm the middle.
You're the middle. Huh. Mm-hmm. So the middle got evacuated.
Oh, yeah. The middle, always.
And so was your role in the family, did you have like were you sort of the peacekeeper, the negotiator, the entertainer? Did you have kind of a role in the family?
I was just the class clown. I was just trying to I mean, I think, yes, I am naturally a peacekeeper and I'm naturally diplomatic, but I was definitely obedient with both of them. I have two very strong sisters, and
Mm,
my older sister is unequivocally the boss,
mm.
except that so is my little sister. So I'm even now when we're trying to make plans for Christmas, I'm just like, tell me what you want and I'll do it. I'm used to you telling me what to do. That's how I like things. And I still like
Wow.
really strong. All my friends are really strong and they have no
Mm.
problem telling me what they think I should do. It makes me feel safe.
Oh my gosh, I love that you know that about yourself. I love that. So I would be remiss if not asking you because we're Neutrogena sisters and we kind of
Hmm.
live in the same beauty world.
Hmm.
What
Hmm.
were there things in your home growing up that like beauty traditions, things you learned from your sisters or from your mom? Like how was beauty talked about in your home?
It was refreshingly absent from
Mm,
our conversations in a lot of ways. I mean, my my mom doesn't wear makeup. We weren't allowed to wear makeup. The Garner Girls had a definite aesthetic. Our dad wouldn't let us pierce our ears or wear nail polish or
wow.
have layers in our hair or get a perm, anything like that. We definitely had like a very clean girl next door Neutrogena vibe. And
Yes.
for us, when we got to use the Neutrogena beauty bar, or when we
Hmm.
got to do that, where you do a 2-week cleanse with the shampoo or something like that
Yes.
was like something that would be in our Christmas stocking. That was a very
Wow.
big deal.
Did you think of yourself as being pretty when you were younger?
No, not at all. Quite no. I was never told I was pretty. I was not. That was not. That wasn't part of my self identity. I didn't worry about it that much,
Mm,
which is a
mhm.
blessing, but
Yeah,
I no, like when there were homecoming courts or things like that, I was never
one of
on
those
that.
girls.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I was
yeah.
never one of those pretty girls. No.
Um, I had a very similar journey. I always say to people, I did not come through the pageant route. I was not that girl. Um, so I'm obsessed with your cooking videos. And when I was thinking about this conversation, I was like, how much of that started on the street you grew up on? Like, did you do a lot of cooking in your home on that in that yellow house that I want to see pictures of because it sounds so cute?
It's so cute. Um my mom, having grown up the way that she did, and because any extra money went toward piano lessons, ballet, there was not money for anything
Yeah.
fancy. And so mom made everything that we ate, everything that we wore, other than like leotard and tights.
Wow.
Yeah. And so
God bless her.
God bless that woman. She did everything. We did not have potato chips unless she was standing there frying them. She just made everything. So it
Wow.
was, yes, of course, we all could cook and we all could bake and whatever, but it was really more just the being around it and having it be so much a part of what home meant at my
Mhm.
house that
Mm.
that's because I'm really not, I'm not a very good cook.
So when you were leaving Greystone Place and going to school, what kind of student were you? Like what kinds of people did you hang out with? What were the things you liked most about school or least about school?
I was a nerd, but more like my older sister was valedictorian of everything. She won every math award in the state. She's like my older sister's a queen. And so I kind of was just like, all right, I look just like her too.
Mm.
Plus, she was the head majorette in the band and she won
Oh my
all the
goodness.
awards like for that as well. So it was, it's a lot to be a little sister and and my little sister is a badass too. So it's just like, I had to go another way. So I danced and that was my identity. Um,
Mm.
and that's what I really did. That's what I focused on was dance until I got old enough that there were other opportunities to perform. And it wasn't like I was thinking I was going to grow up and be an actor. It was just my community in my little town. That my community were the misfits and the kooks and the cool people who were part of the, the community
theater
theater.
kids. Yeah. So then I do wonder, like, when did you get a sense that this life of performance was for you? Like, when did you get a sense that this theater world and dance world was like core to how you're programmed?
Well, when I went to college and as a chemistry major, I had already, before class started, I was already at the theater auditioning to see what I could be in. And by then I had been in I had played some big roles in our community theater and I had
Give me some
danced.
examples. I need examples. What were some of the roles at the community theater?
I guess at that point I had probably done Gypsy and I played Louise. No,
wow.
So I'd already been a stripper. And I had done, gosh, what else had I done? I had danced Cinderella in the ballet of Cinderella. And I had danced Dorothy. We did a ballet that was like of Wizard of Oz, which was really fun. So I had red point shoes with the sparkles.
You were on point.
Yes. Oh my gosh.
Wow.
Yeah.
I want to know if there's anything from the house on Greystone or that time in your life that you would want to bring into now. Like things that when you think about that house and that time, you think, oh, I want more of that in my home or in my life today.
What a great question, Kerry. I just automatically think about this old recliner that we had my entire childhood. Every house has like some nasty old recliner. And
was it the one with like the pole on the side?
You know it.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh yeah, you know it. My big sister would sit in the back and I would sit between like against her chest and my little sister would sit in front of me. And we had this old blanket that we always had on top of us. And it's that feeling. That's what I want. That's what I want for myself. That's what I want for my kids. That incredible feeling of safety and belonging.
I just love hearing you describe that feeling in the placement, like, in that particular chair with that particular blanket and those particular people. You're so lucky to have that. How would they describe the Jennifer Garner that lived in the house on Greystone?
They would say I was funny and not home very much and industrious. I always created jobs for myself. I was always babysitting a ton and shoveling walks, anything. I was always finding a way. I liked having a little change in my pocket. Yeah. And then I think they would say that I got myself into some scrapes.
It's fun to hear about your early entrepreneurial spirit, because now you are an entrepreneur and a farmer, and just outside of all the incredible work you do as an actor and producer, your work as a farmer and as an entrepreneur is so special and so wonderful. Does it feel like a natural extension of your childhood in a way?
It does. It feels much more natural in a lot of ways than acting does, although it's just that's just kind of what I've always done, and it's so crazy that I don't know if you feel this way. It's just like, oh my gosh, I get to make a living at this.
Totally.
It's so wild. It's so crazy. But we always went back to my mom's family farm every year when we were little, and we always had this really warm attachment. Of course, we have the best family there in Oklahoma, and we would go to Texas and see my dad's family and on to Oklahoma to see my mom's. And my cousin Brian, who was just visiting LA the other day, he would take me out on the tractor and let me drive the tractor, which he says he did maybe once or twice, but in my mind, it really stands out. It's so as such a big, and so the fact that is now in our care, my sisters and me, and that we're getting to use it, and that my uncle has become this farmer is just the coolest. My mom's on her way there tomorrow, and I said, okay, I need you to check on the cover crop, and I have some things I need you to do for me. She was like, Jennifer, all right.
So it's so exciting. Do your kids love going there?
They do. They do. Oh my gosh, who you can't not love it. My Uncle Robert and Aunt Janet are there, and they are, they'll have you out fishing in the pond and on a hayride behind the tractor, and they'll put you to, I mean, you just can't not love it.
Hmm.
I wish
Uh,
I could I wish I could go to Simpson Avenue, or is it Simpson Street?
Street.
I wish I could go to Simpson Street and take all of the kids and just transport them to the farm and put them behind a tractor on a bale of hay.
When I was a kid, my parents bought a house in upstate New York on a lake, and it really was that experience. It's like really credit them with like I love being from the concrete jungle. I love like what who it has made me to be like an urban kid. I feel like I have a lot of gratitude for what I've learned in that way, but the balance of also having, because my mom was a teacher, of having summers in the woods and
Mm.
learning how to be in that environment as well, so
Mm.
that I could kind of not be intimidated by either. I'm so grateful to my parents for thinking that way and for really, like, as you're describing, sort of taking these kids in the Bronx, even though my mom didn't have that experience necessarily, but to like throw us in the woods, and my mother would be like, here's your scavenger hunt list. It would be like 30 things that we would never find. She would sort of lock the door and say, like, don't come back till you have everything on the list. And we would just be out in the woods, like finding our way. So I
Wow,
really related to your rubber band story. Did you do any volunteering as a kid growing up in West Virginia? Or do you think it's just your love for the place and wanting kids to sort of have the blessings that you had?
I think, having a mom who grew up really super poor and a dad who, if it weren't for the poverty of my mom's childhood, I would say, oh, my dad grew up really, really without anything. But they rose, and it was because of education. And then, so I kind of was always aware of how lucky and how different our lives were because
Mm,
my parents had found their way to college and what that had meant for my sisters and me. Then we
mm,
were in West Virginia for my dad's job, and thank God, because it's definitely my soul place, but in a lot of ways. But we were there, and we were surrounded by generational rural poverty.
mm,
So when I suddenly found myself with a little bit of a voice, I just said, who is helping kids in rural America?
mm,
You just don't
mm.
see it. You see, all these incredible programs, and
Yeah.
even around the world, but right here in America, kids like my
Yes.
mom, who, who's giving them a leg up, or in West Virginia or Mississippi, South Carolina. And so um the somebody helped me find Michelle Kidley. Actually, I don't know if you know her, but she
Yeah,
helped
I
me
love
find
Michelle.
Save the Children like 14 years ago, and
Mm,
I started working for them. And we're all over the country, in in the hardest, kind of the hardest hit rural areas of different states, and we're there running programs from birth to third grade, but we're also that are in school, after school, summer, and then also home visiting. But beyond that, we're just using what we learn from those programs to advocate for more, just trying to get eyeballs on the kids in our own country and what parents go through
mm,
trying to raise them with so much trauma from
mm.
food insecurity, or not having diapers, or drug addiction, or so many things.
Oh, it's really, really beautiful work. If you could, travel back in time
Mhm.
and have a moment with that little girl on Greystone, what would you want to say to her to kind of help her navigate the years ahead or feel good about where she is in the moment?
Mm. I don't know, because I don't know that that kid was very worried. I
Mm,
think that
mm,
I think I come from a really secure home and a really secure, loving neighborhood and community. And I would more want to go back and soak that up.
yes. Yeah. My last question is a silly question. It is and it's optional. You're not required to answer it, but the way it's told is that your sexy alter ego name is the name of your first pet, followed by the name of the street you grew up on. So I'm wondering what your sexy alter ego name is.
Little cat Greystone.
Oh, that is so good.
It's really good.
That is really good.
Mhm.
Wow. I
Yep.
love little cat Greystone. She
Well,
sounds
my
pretty
actual
fierce.
first pet was Mimi, but my mom ran over Mimi in the driveway. So that day, she said, "Oh, damn it, Jennifer, I ran over the cat."
I can't thank you enough. This was so fun. I just love talking to you, and I love getting to hear more about the street that you grew up on and how it's made you the special, amazing, wonderful person that you are today.
Kerry, this is so fun. Thank you for doing this, and thank you for
Yeah.
inviting me.
Okay, that was so fun. I loved getting to talk to Jennifer about the street she grew up on. I roll hard for the Bronx. I love my hometown, so I really relate to how much love she has for West Virginia. And I really loved getting to know Greystone Place and really getting a sense of what growing up in West Virginia on that street was like, of what it was like to be a Garner girl, the middle Garner girl. What a great childhood to share with us. So I loved that. I hope you did too. And I want to know who else you want to hear from. So don't forget to like and subscribe and push the bell icon. But also in the comments, let us know where else you want to go. It's so fun to go to West Virginia. It's been fun to journey to all the places we've gone so far, but I want to know where else you want to go. So let us know. Talk to you soon. Thanks again.